What happens when one of Hollywood's biggest stars walks onto a morning show, set expecting a normal interview, only to be blindsided by a host who decides to turn a simple chat into a personal attack? In just 34 seconds, a single question would ignite a firestorm that would see Jennifer Lawrence storm off the Good Morning America set, leaving behind a stunned studio audience and a host whose ego just wrote a check his professionalism couldn't cash. The morning started like any other at the Times Square studio. Jennifer Lawrence had arrived early, her usual down-to-earth energy filling the green room as she chatted with production assistants and sipped coffee. She was there to promote her latest film, a project she'd poured her heart into for over a year. The publicist had confirmed it would be a light, fun segment. Standard questions about the movie, maybe some laughs about behind-the-scenes stories, nothing heavy. But Sam Champion had other plans. As Jennifer settled into the curved couch next to Robin Roberts and George Stephanopoulos, the studio lights gleaming overhead, she had no idea what was coming. The audience applauded warmly. She waved, smiled that genuine smile that had made her America's sweetheart. Robin started things off easy, asking about the film's premise, and Jennifer launched into an enthusiastic explanation, her hands gesturing animatedly as she described her character's journey. Then Sam Champion leaned forward. "You know, Jennifer, I have to ask," he began, his tone already carrying an edge that made Robin glance sideways at him. "There's been a lot of talk about your salary for this film. Some people are saying you're overpaid. What do you say to critics who think actors like you make too much money, while regular Americans are struggling?" The studio went quiet. You could hear the cameras whirring. Jennifer's smile faltered for just a second before she recovered. "Well, Sam, I think that's a pretty loaded question for a morning show, but I'll bite. The industry has pay scales, and I'm compensated based on what I bring to a project. But I also think it's interesting that male actors rarely get asked this question in quite the same way." Robin jumped in, trying to smooth things over. "Jennifer's film looks absolutely wonderful. And speaking of the cast, can you tell us about working with—" But Sam wasn't done. No, I think it's a fair question," he interrupted, actually holding up a hand to silence Robin. "I mean, you made how much for this film? Somewhere around 20 million? And you're sitting here in designer clothes. And I just think our viewers deserve to know how you justify that when people are working 3 jobs just to make rent." George shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The camera caught him exchanging a worried look with Robin. Jennifer's expression changed. The warmth drained from her eyes. "I'm sorry, are you seriously asking me to justify my worth right now? On live television?" "I'm asking you to be honest with our audience," Sam shot back, his voice rising slightly. "You live in a bubble. You have no idea what real life is like for most people." "And you do?" Jennifer's voice was steady, but you could hear the steel in it. "You sit here every morning in your tailored suits, reading off a teleprompter, making what I'm sure is a very comfortable salary, and you're going to lecture me about being out of touch?" The audience gasped. Someone in the front row whispered, "Oh my God," loud enough for the microphones to catch. Robin tried again. "Maybe we should talk about the film itself. Jennifer, your director said—" "No, Robin, let's finish this conversation," Sam said, cutting her off again. His face was flushing red now. "I think I speak for a lot of Americans when I say we're tired of celebrities complaining about their problems when they live in mansions and fly private jets." "When did I complain?" Jennifer asked, her voice sharp. "I came here to talk about a film I'm proud of. You're the one who decided to turn this into some kind of ambush interview." George finally spoke up. "Sam, maybe we should—" "Stay out of this, George," Sam snapped. I'm not even looking at his co-host. "I'm trying to have a real conversation here, instead of the usual softball garbage we throw at these people." These people. The words hung in the air like smoke. Jennifer stood up. The microphone clipped to her dress, nearly pulled the pack off the couch. These people? Wow. Okay. You know what, Sam? I've done hundreds of interviews. Hundreds. And I've been asked tough questions before. That's fine. That's part of the job. But what you're doing right now, this isn't journalism. This is you trying to make yourself feel important by tearing someone else down. Oh, please, Sam scoffed, actually rolling his eyes. Don't play the victim card. I'm not playing anything, Jennifer said, her voice rising now to match his. You invited me here under false pretenses. Your producers told my team this would be about the film. Instead, you're sitting here attacking me personally, interrupting your own colleagues, being rude to your co-hosts, and acting like you have some moral high ground. Robin reached out, gently touching Jennifer's arm. Jennifer, honey, maybe we can all just take a breath and... Robin, I appreciate you trying to keep the peace. I really do, Jennifer said, her voice softening when she addressed Robin directly. But I'm not going to sit here and be disrespected like this. Not by him, not by anyone. Sam laughed. Actually laughed. Disrespected? You want to talk about disrespect? How about the disrespect you show to everyday people by flaunting your wealth? How about you stop talking? Jennifer cut him off, and the force in her voice made him actually close his mouth. You don't know me. You don't know what I do with my money. You don't know what charities I support or what causes I believe in. You don't know anything about my life beyond what you read in tabloids. And yet you feel entitled to sit here and judge me. I'm entitled to ask questions, Sam fired back. That's my job. No, your job is to inform and entertain your audience, Jennifer shot back. Not to grandstand and boost your own ego. And you know what's really telling? You keep saying, our viewers and Americans and everyday people, like you're some champion of the common man. But you're not asking these questions because you care about income inequality. You're asking them because you want a viral moment. You want to be the guy who made Jennifer Lawrence uncomfortable. Well, congratulations, Sam. You did it. You made your guest uncomfortable. I hope it was worth it. The studio audience started murmuring. A few people were actually nodding in agreement with Jennifer. George tried once more. Look, I think there's been a misunderstanding here. Jennifer, we value you being here. And Sam, maybe we came at this the wrong way. There's no misunderstanding, George, Jennifer said. But her tone with George was completely different. Respectful. Kind, even. Your colleague here made it very clear what kind of interview this was going to be. And I'm making it very clear that I'm not participating in it. She started to unhook her microphone. Sam stood up too, his voice getting louder. So you're just going to run away? Very mature. I guess when you're used to everyone kissing your feet, you can't handle someone actually challenging you. Challenging me? Jennifer stopped, her hands freezing on the microphone pack. Is that what you think this is? Sam, a challenge would be if you asked me substantive questions about pay equity in Hollywood. A challenge would be if you wanted to discuss the actual economics of film production. But that's not what you're doing. You're being condescending and rude, and frankly, I'm kind of sexist. Oh, here we go. Sam threw his hands up. Everything's sexist now. I would ask a male actor the same question. Would you? Jennifer's eyebrow arched. Because I've watched this show. I've seen you interview male actors who make twice what I make, and somehow their salaries never come up. Somehow you're not concerned about them being out of touch. Funny how that works. Robin was shaking her head, clearly frustrated with her co-host. George had his hand over his face. You know what your problem is? Sam stepped closer to Jennifer, his voice dripping with condescension. You can't handle criticism. You're so used to everyone telling you how amazing you are that the second someone points out reality, you fall apart. Jennifer laughed, but there was no humor in it. My problem? My problem is that I trusted your producers when they said this would be a professional interview. My problem is that I wasted 2 hours of my morning getting ready and coming down here to be treated like this. But you want to know what your problem is, Sam? She stepped closer to him, meeting his energy with her own. Your problem is that you're a bully. You're a bully who hides behind the veneer of asking tough questions, but really, you just like making people squirm. Your problem is that you're so insecure in your own position that you need to tear down people who are more successful than you. Your problem is that you interrupted Robin, one of the most respected journalists in this industry, multiple times, because you were too caught up in your own ego to let her do her job. Your problem is that you told George to stay out of it, your own co-host, because you wanted this moment all to yourself. And your biggest problem, Sam, is that you're standing here on national television showing everyone exactly who you are, and it's not a good look. Sam's mouth opened and closed. For the first time, he seemed genuinely at a loss for words. Nothing to say now? Jennifer asked quietly. That's what I thought. It's easy to dish it out, isn't it? But taking it? That's harder. Now you know how it feels. Sam started, then stopped. His face was still red, but something in his expression had shifted. Uncertainty. Maybe, or the first flicker of awareness that he'd gone too far. But instead of backing down, he doubled down. You know what? Fine. You want to paint me as the bad guy? Go ahead. But at least I'm asking real questions. At least I'm not just another sycophant kissing up to celebrities. Real questions? Jennifer's voice rose again. Sam, if you wanted to ask real questions, you could have asked me about the pay gap between male and female actors. You could have asked me about the lack of diversity in Hollywood. You could have asked me about the challenges of being a woman in this industry. Those are real questions. Those are important questions. But instead, you asked me to justify my worth as a human being. You asked me to apologize for being successful. And when I wouldn't play along, you got nasty. The audience was dead silent. A few jaws were literally hanging open. Sam's face was bright red now. How dare you? How dare I what? Jennifer challenged. How dare I stand up for myself? How dare I not just sit here and take whatever you dish out? You started this, Sam. You wanted this confrontation. You got it. But now you're mad because I'm not playing the role you wanted me to play. You wanted me to get defensive and flustered. You wanted me to look bad. But instead, you're the one who looks bad. You're the one who ambushed a guest. You're the one who disrespected your colleagues. You're the one who turned what should have been a fun, lighthearted segment into this disaster. A woman in the front row of the audience actually shouted, "You tell him!" Someone else clapped. Sam's eyes darted to the audience, then back to Jennifer. Don't try to turn the audience against me. They're smart enough to see through your act. My act? Jennifer's laugh was sharp. Sam, the only person acting right now is you. You're acting like you're some crusader for the working class. Yeah, you're acting like you're asking hard-hitting questions. But really, you're just being mean. And there's a big difference between being a tough interviewer and being a bully. I am not a bully, Sam said, his voice rising to a near shout. I'm a journalist. I'm asking the questions that matter. To who? Jennifer shot back. Who exactly asked for this? Did your viewers wake up this morning desperate to see you attack me about my salary? Did they tune in hoping to watch you make your guest uncomfortable? Or did you just decide on your own that this was the hill you wanted to die on? Robin stepped closer to both of them, her voice calm but firm. Both of you, please. This is getting out of hand. We need to... Robin, with all due respect, this is already out of hand, Jennifer said, but her tone with Robin remained gentle, almost apologetic. It was out of hand the second Sam decided to ambush me. I'm not going to pretend otherwise just to make everyone comfortable. I didn't ambush anyone, Sam protested loudly. I asked a legitimate question about income inequality in America. During a segment about my movie, Jennifer fired back. A segment that was supposed to be about the story, the character, the filmmaking process, not about my personal finances. And you know what's really interesting, Sam? You keep saying this is about income inequality, but I don't see you donating your salary to charity. I don't see you living in a modest apartment and giving away everything you earn. So maybe this isn't really about economic justice at all. Maybe this is just about you wanting to feel superior. George tried to interject. I think what we're all trying to say is, George, buddy, I love you, but stay out of this. Sam interrupted again, waving his hand dismissively. This is between me and Jennifer. No, Sam. It's not, George said firmly, his voice harder than before. This is between you and basic human decency. This is between you and professional standards. And right now, you're losing both those battles. Sam whirled on George. Excuse me? You heard me. George stood his ground. You're out of line. You have been from the start. And every word that comes out of your mouth is making it worse. Robin finally stood up, positioning herself slightly between them. Okay, I think we need to go to commercial. Right now. No, Sam said, his jaw clenched. We're not going to commercial. We're going to finish this conversation. What conversation, Sam? Jennifer asked, spreading her hands. What exactly do you want to talk about? You've already made it clear you think I'm overpaid, out of touch, and living in a bubble. You've already insulted me multiple times. What's left to discuss? Do you want me to apologize for being successful? Do you want me to promise to work for free? What exactly would make you happy? I want you to acknowledge your privilege, Sam said. I absolutely acknowledge my privilege, Jennifer responded immediately. I'm incredibly lucky. I get to do what I love for a living. I make more money than most people will see in a lifetime. I'm aware of that every single day. But you know what? That doesn't mean I deserve to be treated like garbage on your show. That doesn't give you the right to be cruel, and it definitely doesn't excuse your behavior toward Robin and George. George stood up too now. Sam, this has gone too far. You need to stop telling me what to do. Sam whirled on George. Both of you. I'm so sick of being handled and managed. I asked a legitimate question and she turned it into a whole thing. She turned it into a whole thing? Robin's voice was incredulous. Sam, you've been attacking her from the moment she sat down. You cut me off 3 times. You told George to stay out of it. This isn't about the question. This is about how you're acting. Oh, so now you're ganging up on me. Sam looked between his co-hosts. Great. Just great. Take the celebrity's side over your own colleague. We're not taking sides, George said firmly. We're trying to salvage what's left of this segment and our show's reputation. Because right now, you're making us all look terrible. Sam turned back to Jennifer, ignoring George completely. You still haven't answered my original question. Do you think you're overpaid? Jennifer stared at him for a long moment. You really don't get it, do you? This isn't about the question anymore, Sam. This is about respect. This is about professionalism. This is about how you treat people. And based on what I've seen this morning, you have none of those things. She finally got her microphone fully unhooked and set it carefully on the couch. Where do you think you're going? Sam demanded. I'm leaving, Jennifer said simply. I'm walking out of here because I don't have to subject myself to this. I don't have to sit here and be your punching bag. And you know what the saddest part is? I actually like this show. I've watched it for years. I respect Robin and George. But you, Sam, and you just showed me and everyone watching exactly what kind of person you are. So you're just going to quit? Sam's voice was mocking now. Just walk away like a child? No, I'm going to leave like an adult who knows their worth and refuses to be disrespected, Jennifer corrected. There's a difference, although I wouldn't expect you to understand that. Robin moved toward Jennifer, her expression apologetic. Jennifer, I am so sorry about this. This is not how we conduct interviews here. This is not what we're about. I know it's not, Robin, Jennifer said gently, and she actually hugged Robin briefly. You've always been wonderful. Don't apologize for him. He should be apologizing for himself. But something tells me that's not going to happen. She turned to George. George, always a pleasure. I'm sorry it ended this way. George nodded, clearly mortified by the whole situation. I'm sorry, too. Then Jennifer looked at Sam one last time. You know what I hope, Sam? I hope you watch this back later. I hope you really watch it and see how you behaved. How you treated me. How you treated your colleagues. How you acted like you were entitled to tear me down just because you could. And I hope you feel something. Shame, regret, anything. Because if you don't, if you watch this and still think you were in the right, and then you're even more lost than I thought. Sam opened his mouth to respond, but Jennifer held up a hand. Don't. Just don't. You've said enough. More than enough. And with that, she turned and walked off the set. The cameras caught every step. Her heels clicking on the studio floor. Her back straight. Head held high. She didn't run. She didn't storm off in a rage. She simply walked away with dignity. The audience sat in stunned silence. A few people started to clap, slowly at first, then louder. Within seconds, half the studio audience was applauding Jennifer as she disappeared through the studio doors. Sam stood there, his face a mix of anger and something else. Confusion, maybe. Or the dawning realization that he'd made a terrible mistake. Robin and George remained on the set, both looking completely shell-shocked. Robin was the first to speak, her voice tight. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. But as the cameras cut away, you could hear Sam's voice, defensive and sharp. What? What did I do? I just asked a question. Sam, George's voice was low and serious. We need to talk. Right now. I don't need to talk about anything, Sam shot back. She's the one who walked off. She's the one who couldn't handle a simple question. Robin's response was quiet, but cut through everything. That wasn't a simple question, Sam. That was an attack. And you know it. The studio audience was buzzing now. Everyone talking at once. People were pulling out their phones, already texting, and posting about what they'd just witnessed. The energy in the room had completely shifted. What was supposed to be a fun morning show segment had turned into something else entirely. Something uncomfortable and raw and real. In the green room, Jennifer was already gathering her things. Her publicist was on the phone, her voice urgent. Jennifer's hands were shaking slightly as she picked up her bag, but the adrenaline finally hitting her system. A production assistant knocked softly. Miss Lawrence, are you okay? Do you need anything? Jennifer looked at the young woman and managed a small smile. I'm fine. Thank you for asking, but I think I'm going to head out. I don't blame you, the assistant said quietly. That was really messed up. I'm sorry that happened. Not your fault, Jennifer said. But thank you. As she made her way through the back corridors of the studio, other staff members gave her sympathetic looks. A cameraman actually said, "Good for you," as she walked by. A makeup artist mouthed, "I'm sorry," from across the hall. Meanwhile, back on the set, the commercial break was almost over. Robin and George were in a heated discussion with Sam off to the side. Robin's arms were crossed, her expression stern. George was gesturing, clearly trying to make a point. Sam kept shaking his head, his jaw set stubbornly. You embarrassed us, Robin was saying, her voice sharp. You embarrassed yourself, you embarrassed this show, and you embarrassed that young woman who came here in good faith. She's not some innocent victim, Sam argued. She's a millionaire actress who can't take the heat. The heat? George's voice rose. Sam, you weren't applying heat. You were being cruel. There's a difference between tough journalism and what you did out there. I was doing my job, Sam insisted. Your job is to interview guests, not interrogate them, Robin snapped. Your job is to make our viewers feel informed and entertained, not uncomfortable. Your job is to work with your co-hosts, not talk over us. A producer rushed over. We're back in 30 seconds. Sam straightened his jacket. Fine. We'll move on to the next segment. Like nothing happened? Robin stared at him. Sam, we can't just pretend that didn't happen. The audience saw everything. So what do you want me to do? Sam asked, defensive. Apologize on air? Grovel because some actress couldn't handle a few tough questions? George put his hand on Sam's shoulder, his voice serious. Yes, Sam, that's exactly what we want you to do. Because if you don't, you're going to make this worse than it already is. I'm not apologizing for doing journalism, Sam said, shrugging off George's hand. Robin closed her eyes briefly. This wasn't journalism, Sam. When are you going to get that? The floor director started counting down. 5, 4, 3. They all moved back to their positions on the couch, but the easy camaraderie was gone. Robin and George sat stiffly, their expressions professional but strained. Sam looked defiant. The cameras came back on. Welcome back, Robin said, her voice steady despite everything. We want to address what just happened. Our guest, Jennifer Lawrence, it's Sal, has left the building after what became a very heated exchange with our colleague Sam Champion. George picked up where she left off. We want to apologize to Jennifer and to our viewers. That segment did not represent the values of this show or the respect we have for our guests. Sam sat silently, his expression unreadable. Robin looked directly at the camera. Good Morning America has always been about bringing people together, about having honest but respectful conversations. What happened this morning fell short of that standard. Still, Sam said nothing. George glanced at him, waiting. The pause stretched out. Finally, George spoke again. Sam, do you have anything you'd like to say? All eyes turned to Sam. The studio audience leaned forward. Sam cleared his throat. I asked questions that I felt our viewers deserved answers to. If the delivery was too harsh, then I apologize for that. If. The word hung there. Robin's jaw tightened. That was it. And that was all he was going to give. We're going to take another break, she said. When we come back, we'll have the latest weather and news. The second the cameras cut, Robin stood up and walked off without a word to Sam. George followed her, leaving Sam sitting alone on the couch, finally looking uncertain. The damage was done. The moment had happened, and there was no taking it back. In the hours that followed, what happened would spread across social media. Clips would be shared millions of times. But in that moment, what mattered was Jennifer Lawrence had stood up for herself. She had refused to be bullied. She had walked away with her dignity intact. And Sam Champion had revealed exactly who he was. He had chosen ego over professionalism. He had chosen confrontation over conversation. The studio audience filed out, still buzzing with energy and disbelief. Production assistants moved around the set, resetting for the next segment. Robin and George stood in a corner, talking in low, serious voices, and Sam sat on that couch, alone, finally beginning to understand what he had done. But it was too late. The interview was over. Jennifer was gone. And nothing would ever change what had happened in those intense minutes when a morning show segment had turned into something nobody had anticipated. When a simple interview had become a masterclass in what not to do. When a host had let his ego destroy what should have been an easy conversation. When one person stood up and said, "Enough is enough." That was the moment that mattered. That was the moment that would be remembered. Just that moment when Jennifer Lawrence looked at Sam Champion and said, with perfect clarity, that she knew her worth and she refused to accept anything less than respect. And then she walked away, leaving behind a host who had learned too late that some moments can't be undone.